So, Alicia, I want to hear about your journey since we last spoke.
Yeah, so it's been wild. I mean, when I asked you to come on my podcast, it was because I had so much anger in
Mm,
me. And I think, I
mm.
mean, I kind of sometimes when I talk on podcasts, when I'm talking, sometimes I forget what I've actually said. But just going
Yeah.
by, the vibe of what it was. This is, I mean, all of my life I've been kind of a hot person, hot tempered, and um, and I have been on this journey to
Mm,
what I thought was like get the anger out of me. Yet I sort of
mm-hmm,
I love the vibe of anger too because I think it's such a good catalyst for
mm-hmm,
change and movement, and it is
mm-hmm.
also a very good energy to have.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I was trying to get it essentially out of me and struggling with it and kind of thinking like I when you're in the shower and you're having those kind of thoughts where I finished the whole shower and I've had a whole argument
Mm.
with someone, and
Yeah.
yeah, right? And I wanted that to stop, and I wanted to stop kind of having this fiery rage directed, like it wasn't, that kind of anger wasn't helpful because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't moving anything. And
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Thank you for saying that. So many therapists, if they, hear that you're having like ruminating thoughts about someone, or something, they try to help you work with those thoughts, and they see the thoughts as problematic. And I see the thoughts as, a sign that there isn't closure. There's a lack of completion. So the reason we just continue to write these letters in our head or have these conversations is because our brain, our body needs completion, and
mm,
there is a lack. And so, yeah, you're saying there's healthy anger, and then there's signs of this anger isn't completely healthy because it needs to move somewhere and find that closure and completion.
yeah. And I
Mhm.
think one of the things is like kind of like a wound, like an
Mhm.
external, we get a
Mhm.
mosquito bite, and it might be
Mhm.
start healing, and then you itch it
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
open it up again. And I've had
Yeah.
some situations in life
Yeah.
with my ex-husband, with my dad, where
Mhm.
it's like
Mm.
these wounds I have thought they have healed, and then
Yeah.
they are open again, and so it's sort
Yeah.
of exposed and raw. And
Yeah.
in my mind I thought, oh, I need this, just needs to get like this, almost this visual of I need to get it out of me because I
Yes.
don't like wasting time and energy. And I knew that I was, when these things would kind of hijack my mind and I'm
Mhm.
wasting precious energy
Mhm. Mhm.
on these things, that I'm like, I don't want to be thinking about that. I don't like,
Right.
I have a full life.
Yep.
There is
Yes.
a lot of places that my energy could
Yeah.
be directed. And I
Yeah.
had, so shortly after, probably a couple weeks after we chatted, I had a nice walk with a friend that we walk, and so I have a couple walking friends. I have one that we kind of like my like no murder walk, where we're not going to commit murder. So we have to walk. We have to talk about the thing. Yes,
Ah!
yes. Like there's no murders happening today. We walk almost every single day for 30 minutes,
Mm.
and
Mm.
it's like we problem solve. We talk about just all of life, and we get it out in that 30 minutes.
Mm.
And that, but then this other friend that I have, we go real deep, and we talk about just some things that you can't talk about with most people, kind of like the spiritual realm, or
Mm.
just like the deep. I have one of my kids is like this too, where I can just say like, have you ever thought that we're like, you and I are living in like a parallel world at the same, and he's like, oh yeah, I have. And then like goes, and that's the kind of
Mm.
things where we're in these
Mm.
thoughts. Anyway, I'm telling her, I
Mm.
was like,
Mm.
I'm just so angry right now.
Mm.
And what I don't, I wish I could remember what exactly she said to me, but she's just kind of one of those people that just asks good questions. And
Mhm.
that happened. And then I met with Kira, who you've had on here. After
Yeah.
that, I work with her once a month, usually.
Mm. Mm.
And we were talking about forgiveness. And I was like, I don't want to forgive.
Mhm.
And she like, I love her because she was like, wait a second, pause, like stop. She stopped me in my tracks, and she was like, we just need to think of a different kind of. It's not the word for forgiveness, because I was like, people, I don't want
Yeah.
to forgive anyone, and just the conversation that we have. I left that conversation
Mm.
and I was changed.
Mm.
I was different. I had reimagined. I think I
Yeah.
was kind of, we were talking before this about how you hear about these singers who are overnight success and all of a sudden everybody knows about them, or a business that all of a sudden just explodes and
Mm.
just is wildly popular, and you don't see all the work that has gone in beneath,
Mm.
in the background, in the years. And
Mm.
I really think that that is what kind of surfaced with me. Is I have done so much
Mm.
work on
Mhm.
healing the
Mm.
last 3 years. I've been trying to heal my nervous system and really
Yeah.
just so much. And it just took a couple of conversations back to back that I was like, oh, it's different. I'm different. It was a really
Whoa.
neat experience.
Okay, so I want to hear specifically what those two conversations entailed. It sounds like the forgiveness piece in particular, like kind of reframed it for you in a way. I say that the real word should be release, because
Mm,
that's what forgiveness means in the Greek, is it means release. And we're releasing hatred in my book. It's not anger, it's hatred,
yeah.
because hatred is corrosive to anyone who is fostering it or harboring it. Hatred is an important emotion to have. When we feel it, when we feel disgust, they're the same thing. It tells us to stay away. It tells us that
Mm-hmm.
person's unsafe. And if we stay away, if we follow it, we shouldn't fuel or foster the hatred. The hatred doesn't need to be there. But when we are thinking about someone who's betrayed us, like a parent, only a parent can betray us to the degree they can, then we can harbor that and we need to release it. And it sounds like that's kind of where ended up. So I want to hear more about how that perspective that you heard from Kira helped you.
Yeah. Well, originally she had said the word forgiveness, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
a Taurus, and an Enneagram 8, which, if you're not familiar, stubborn. I'm
Okay.
right.
Uh-huh.
I I'm very set in my ways, and I do a lot of learning so that I can be right. Like, I
Yeah.
like that a lot. And she said the word forgiveness, and I got real like obstinate. I was like, no, I am
Yeah.
not doing that. And she
Yeah.
pushed back, and
Mm-hmm.
she's essentially saying it's not for them, which I know this. This is not
Mm-hmm.
like my first go round with what is forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of put back on me that this was not this information that I was kind of newly hot about was not new information. This was just a kind of, like I said, with the mosquito bite, and it's like, or a
Mm-hmm.
wound that gets reopened. There was
Mm-hmm.
nothing new that had happened, and in
Right.
all of these situations, and even with when we chatted before, it was kind of the world at large, and
Mm-hmm.
essentially she pointed out that, oh, my anger has been directed towards a couple of people, and that
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like the image of the world, the pers- personification of the world at large, the things I'm angry about in a whole human. And the the reframe of forgiveness and talking about, okay, what does that actually
Mm-hmm.
look like in
Mm-hmm.
practice? And it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
like I know what that is. It just seemed more like a gift for that person. Like they don't deserve to have that. But I mean, we know it's like what is it, like the poison when you hang on to it, or like
Mm-hmm.
the hot coal, whatever the
Mm-hmm.
analogy that you want to use. I was hanging on to it versus like,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to set this down. And
Yes.
I think one of the things that I was most worried about is I love being angry. I am a feisty being, but it's differentiating between the anger that is not good for me, that kind of like you said, that like
Mhm.
hatred,
Mhm.
versus the other kind of angry where I can just be feisty and
Mhm.
driven and have that sort of
Mhm.
friction that makes me feel alive, because unfortunately
Yeah.
I actually like, even though I don't want to feel like I have this dichotomy of I don't want to feel this anger, and also I actually like the heat that it brings. So I'm guessing I was kind of
Mm.
holding on to it because some place in me is like, oh, but you feel alive when you have this.
Well, I will say it feels powerful. And Alicia, I'm wondering if yeah, I'm wondering specifically how you felt when you released the hatred or the resentment really is resentment slash hatred. Like, did you still feel powerful? Did you feel relieved? Like, what did that feel like for you?
Yeah, so it was a little bit, it wasn't where I knew it immediately. I knew something had
Mm,
shifted because I felt
mm,
energetic after
mhm,
my,
mm,
because it was all in one
mm,
day. The way
mhm,
that the universe lined up to give me this like bam bam, and I
mhm,
felt energetic. I felt almost like a chapter had been a new chapter, or a weight had been, when I
mm,
people I'm sure can understand this, if you've
mm,
ever quit
mhm,
a job that was awful, or you've ever left a relationship that was awful, and
mhm,
you make that exit, that transition, and all of a
mhm,
sudden it's like,
mhm.
oh, I am lighter, this
Yes.
feels different. That is
Yes.
exactly how it
Mhm,
felt. And then the very next
mhm,
day,
mhm,
sort of a big thing happened, and my I noticed that I'm like, oh, if this would have been 48 hours ago, I would have acted in a very reactive way and been spiteful. And
mhm.
because of what happened, I could almost like zoom out and see the
Yes.
situation as
Yeah.
a bigger picture and be like, oh,
Yeah.
I would have done this before. However, now I feel almost like a
Wow.
peace
Yeah.
inside of me that
Mhm,
I didn't need to be reactive, even if it felt, because it's almost like, like a tea kettle where the steam comes out. That is the reactiveness that I would have
mm,
had in the past, where it's like
mm.
stimulus,
Yeah.
blow, which
Yes.
that is
Yeah.
not, you're not in control of yourself. You're not in control. Like that is completely just like seeing red and acting just out of pocket,
Mhm,
where this was more like, oh, I can come at this from a very
mm.
calm place.
So that's the real power. So anger can make us feel powerful and it's real, but it's also not always good. The real power is when we're like, how do I want to react right now? Where we
Yeah.
have that complete agency over our reaction, right?
Uh-huh.
And we have the most control because other people can't get us to react. They can't incite that anymore. They don't have that power. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what it sounds like you came to that place. Wow.
Yeah. Well, and this wasn't
Mhm.
even like, and that's interesting that you point that out. I don't know that anybody in my world right now tries to kind of elicit a
Mhm.
response from me. It's
Mhm.
more,
Mhm.
I have put myself in this kind of bubble of protection. And when something
Mm.
unexpected
Mhm.
happens, even if it's not meant to be unkind or icky, it just sort of like
Mhm.
catches me off guard. And I was like, oh, I wasn't respecting that or expecting that. And then
Mm.
I get a little fiery, like, you don't get access to my peace. And then I go crazy. Not crazy, crazy, but it feels crazy in my body.
Mhm. Wow, that is such a cool journey and I feel like what you're kind of illuminating is kind of the nuance to this is very nuanced.
Oh,
It's not a
yes.
simple process. There's anger. Actually, yeah, I tell this story. Um, so I was depressed for I don't know how many years, 8, 9 years, like very depressed most of that time. And I kind of just woke up one day. It was crazy. And I won't go into that, but when I woke up, I just felt all this anger and it felt so good. It felt so good because that's what I hadn't felt for those 9 years was any anger. That's why I was depressed because I wasn't feeling it. And so it felt so powerful. It felt so good. Um, and it served me for that time. I wrote people letters and I held them accountable for what their contribution to that depression in the first place. And it worked and it did its job. And then it kind of just fizzled out over time. And today I just feel like I can get angry. It's there, but it's just like one tool in my toolbox, and for that
Yes.
period of time, I was overly angry and I definitely, said things and did things that I now regret. I don't have shame though. I just feel regret because I was a little bit over the top. But I also see it as a necessary phase that I had to go through to come to where I am now. And I think we need to have grace for ourselves and see that we go through these phases. Um, and the goal isn't perfection, it's completion. And that word complete means like becoming a person of integrity, a person who, really does align with truth at every level. And anger's still there, but it's not the only emotion we're feeling, right?
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting when you talk about the letters. I remember there's a park that I went hiking in. This was several years ago. And I was feeling so angry. And I started making a list of all of the people who I was angry at.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I thought, like, I was thinking about what I would want to say to them and thought about writing to them. I didn't actually, I'm guessing I can still look in my notes app. I've actually, my best friend knows if anything ever happens to me and my daughter too, delete the notes app because the shit that is in there is just off the, like, it's crazy, everything from a Target to Costco list to like my
Yeah.
anger list of
Yeah.
these
I'm
are the
right there with
people.
you. I
Yes.
have the same thing with Google
Yes.
Docs. Yes. Uh huh.
Yes. Yes. But I think, that was one thing. I think there are several people when as soon as you said the letter, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this person. And
Mm,
sometimes I think about the things that he did. And it's like if today me would have been in
mm,
13 years ago when I would have, it's like I have to forgive her for not knowing what me back then, for not
yeah.
knowing. But
Yes.
also I'm not afraid to talk about these things, which I did a podcast too about just calling things out where it's like,
Mm,
no, I'm not gonna hold on to this. I'm not gonna do it in, like a crazy way. But if it gets brought up, because this was an environment that I worked in, I
mm,
used to be quiet about it. And now I'm like, oh
mm.
no, like I totally name what it was and call it for what it is. And
Yeah.
that feels so much better than kind of keeping it quiet and holding it in.
Oh,
And I think,
yes.
that is probably part of the pathway to
Hmm.
releasing and completion is, this ebb and flow of stimulus. I don't know why I felt the need to go hike and make a list. Like, I'm guessing something
Mm,
happened, on my
hmm.
way there. But
Yeah.
I think there's just so many layers and levels
Mm,
to getting to this space. And I'm guessing there will be another layer and level that I don't even know about yet that kind of
hmm.
you use the tools. You said it's one tool
It's one
that you
tool.
have. Mm-hmm.
Well, you're talking about expressing your feelings, expressing the truth out of your body. And there's a word, we use in psychology called alexithymia, which just means not doing that. It literally means without words, or what, my clients call holding it inside. And that is now linked with so many somatic illnesses, all kinds of autoimmune disorders, even cancer. What it does to our bodies is so detrimental. So yeah, the worst thing is to hold it inside, but the good part is we don't need to necessarily confront the person. Sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. It really, that's the nuance here, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just writing a fantasy letter that never sends and we don't do anything with, maybe we share it with a friend. Maybe we reread it, over and over and just be like, oh, I'm going to write this now. Right. But we're expressing it into words out of our bodies and we're doing
Mm-hmm.
right by ourselves. And sometimes it is holding someone accountable directly or indirectly, going above them, or having a boundary. But yeah, that is critical. That's so interesting. What did you do with that list? Like, did you actually move forward
Nothing.
with any? Okay.
Mm-mm. I did nothing. I bet it's still in here that I voice noted kind of the things that I wanted to say, but it's
Yeah.
just lives in there and I did nothing with it, but it
So
felt
you voice
good.
noted what you want to say, though,
Yes. Hmm.
to every person.
Two, I think I started. I don't know that I got all the way through it, but yeah, I
Okay.
just talked it out. And I think, this goes into, my kind of part of my why in life is that physical, movement of your body. And I did it while I
Mm.
was hiking. So that
Mm.
sort of moving of
Yeah.
your body and moving
Hmm.
of the anger through me, I
Yeah.
think is just so important when you pair them together and move it
Yes.
physically out of you too.
Yeah. My daughter, she is in Seattle this summer, and she was saying how one of the people she's living with is really offended her. And she was like, how do I feel about this? I kind of really like this person, but then that was really weird. And she said it when she had her room all to herself, she started singing. She loves to sing. She like belts it out. And it was when she was singing that it just became very clear. No, it was not okay what this person did. And I said, that's so interesting. That was while you were singing. She goes, Mom, I'm in touch with my diaphragm. That's how I know what's true. And I'm like, oh my God. And my husband actually was inspired by that. And he just said on our trip that we just came back from, he's like, I should sing more and get more in touch with my diaphragm. I'm like, yeah, I think you should. I think that'd be good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I just saw, no, this is on TikTok and I can't believe everything, but this lady seemed believable. She was a physical therapist and she was talking about your diaphragm and how it
Mm,
impacts everything in your body. And she's like, I can't believe I've been doing this
mm,
for 15 years and
mm,
didn't know this.
mm,
And so that's really interesting because I saved it because I wanted to kind of go down the rabbit hole because I
mm,
know that, certain
mm,
types of breathing and all that stuff can have
mm,
a really big impact. But the way that she was talking, it was so much deeper than that. So I love
mm.
that you said, when you get that, like, oh, this person said this and another person said this, and you're like, oh,
Yeah,
there's something
right.
to this. So I'm going to dig deeper into that because that sounds so interesting. And how cool for her to realize that and make that connection.
Yeah, and it's so lovely to think, okay, we could go hiking, but if it's rainy, we could just sing and we can sing while we're driving somewhere. Like this is very portable. There's
Hmm.
so many ways we can connect with ourselves, right?
Hmm.
And there's something about that that really brings us to our truth.
Hmm. Yeah. I have, there's one woman that I worked with several years ago that um, she was in a very high pressure job and
Mm,
back to back clients. And so I had her
mm,
doing 10 jumping jacks in between. She would go back to her office, do
mm,
10 jumping jacks. She had kind of a mantra that she would then reset to kind of
mm.
wash off the past clients and then
Yeah,
reset her body to
nice. Yeah.
clear that energy and then go in fresh to the next one. And I mean, it was one of those very simplistic things that she's like, this has completely changed my whole day by doing this one very small thing. And like you said, portable, like you can do that anywhere,
Yeah.
anywhere. Bathroom stall, jump up and down, move it through you.
Wow. Well, you
Hmm.
know what I do now that we're talking about it? I dance between clients
Okay.
sometimes. I forget all the time, but I'll just play my music and I'll get up and I'll just dance. And dancing to me is just pure intuition. I'm just like, what does my body want to do right now? And then sometimes I feel like it's a celebratory dance, and other times I feel like it's like an angry dance, but it
Yeah.
it definitely feels very cathartic. And I do feel like a cleansing.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I did try to take a dance class. I'm guessing it was kind of because of that. I wanted to learn to move my body in that way, kind
Mm,
of that
yeah.
mind. I wanted to get out of my head and into my body.
Yeah.
It lasted not very long.
Well, I
But
mean, I wouldn't enjoy a dance class because
yeah,
I just, to me, it needs to come from within. It should be
yeah,
intuitive. So, yeah, I've never like dance
yeah.
classes, but, and I can't have a mirror. I hate
Oh, okay.
mirrors. Those are my least favorite inanimate objects. So, yeah, I just want it to be me and my body and just connecting. But I think there's all kinds of things we can do, you know?
Yes. Yeah, one of the things that I last year, so last year was my peak depression.
Mm,
I cried a lot. I was very
mm,
angry. And I
mm,
started baking sourdough bread.
mm.
And I baked like three
Whoa.
loaves a day. And I'm pretty sure, I am not even kidding. People, I'm sure, thought like they thought many things. They enjoyed my bread though. And but it soothed my soul. It got
Wow.
me through
Yeah.
feeling just not myself, maybe even
Mm,
finding myself, who is myself now, I don't
mm,
know.
mm,
But I baked so much bread, and that was essentially like the dancing, the hiking. The bread
mm,
was my catalyst for
mm.
healing. And now I bake like once a month.
Well, I mean, I see that it is connecting with your body in a very specific way. That's nurturing yourself because I've made bread. I've, had a bread machine a long time ago
Yeah.
and like you just the smell. Oh my God, it's so nurturing. And
Yes.
it's a way of nurturing yourself, the soothing of the hot oven, just the whole thing, the making of the bread. It's very soothing. So I like that too. And I think self-nurture, we need to take that very seriously. Eating, nurturing our bodies is saying to our body, you matter.
Hmm.
You are precious to me. And I'm going to take this time and demonstrate that and
Hmm.
prioritize you. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of ladies that do, creative painting. I've tried a lot of things to kind of do that.
Mm-hmm.
I tried watercolor painting, all sorts of things.
Hmm.
So I think whatever trying, and that's one of the things too, is I would not have found these things had I not been open to trying new things and having new
Yeah.
experiences, So you have access to so many different modalities and moving things through you and, caring for yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. That is so, so important. We cannot, you know, underestimate any of that. It's amazing as we heal our relationship with our bodies, with ourselves, just what happens, how it transforms us.
Hmm. Yeah, I've spent, I mean, let's see, I owned my gym and then I departed it's almost 3 years now in July.
Mm, mm,
And I spent that 3 years essentially healing and taking care of myself because I had been
mm,
like,
mm,
in a marriage and then two small children and then
mm.
divorce and then a remarriage and then had two more
Okay.
children while building a business. And it was just
Wow.
like,
Wow.
that was the era where I thought, oh, I need to do everything for everyone. And yeah, yeah. And so I thought, like, people called me Superwoman, Superwoman. I was like, hell yeah, I am. Look at me doing all these things. Meanwhile, then I burned
Mm,
out and I was like
yeah.
mad. Why did I do all this? What? And I'm telling other
Mm,
people, like showing, like, here's my badge
mm.
of honor. You can do this too.
Oh,
Right? So
wow.
I've spent the
Yeah.
last 3 years healing. And now coming out of that,
Mm,
I'm not fully healed. Are we ever? But coming out of that and re engaging with parts of
mm,
me
mm,
that I kind of had just kind of different thinking now. And now it's a really
mm,
healthy
mm,
version of engaging, like fitness wise. I'm doing competition. I'm training for a competition and I'm doing it
mm,
so much differently now.
mm,
So it's really neat to see how
mm.
once you take time and
Mm,
really do some good healing, which is hard, but
mm,
take that time and do it,
mm,
how it just shifts your perspective on things that you
mhm.
already had done, in the past, and then
Yeah.
kind of redoing them. It's really neat.
I can totally see that. Um, yeah. So like one thing that just came to mind when you were talking is I just spoke at a conference down in Southern California last week. And while I was in other people's seminars, I a couple of them, some of them were amazing and I learned so much. And then some other ones I'm just like, what? Can you get to the point? Like, what? You don't have a point. Like, this is horrible that I'm trapped in this seminar right now. And I actually texted my daughter because she's in college. And I said, how do you do this? Like, it's been so long since I've had to sit and listen to someone else. And it made me angry at the person because what I told my daughter in the text, this is kind of how I got through those boring seminars, was I said, it makes me angry at this person because I have to think of their thoughts and I can't think my own thoughts. And I'm so used to now thinking whatever thoughts I want. Like if I listen to a podcast, I'm thinking those thoughts and then I can stop it and I can think my own, or I can just think my own while they're continuing. But there was something about it that just brought me back to high school or college when I'm like, oh, no wonder I didn't do well in high school because I think I just couldn't stand having to think these thoughts that were so stupid. They were so remedial. They were not stimulating of my brain at all. And I think I resented that then. And I think that part of me is still very much alive. And it's just so interesting to be like, oh, so you could sit through a seminar and you could really own it and be like, this is for me and I'm going to learn from this. Or you could just sit through it and be like, check it off a box, which is what most people do. Kind of these two ways of going through our lives. And once we change from that box checking to this is for me, we're going to have feelings we didn't have before. It's going to change it up. It's going to be more messy. We're going to be like, I need to text somebody right now because I'm annoyed at this person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just how we change inwardly and how that changes our experiences, even though they were the same experiences.
Mm-hmm. And how great that you can see, oh, this is not like I've designed my life in such a way that I don't have to be
Mm, yeah.
putting myself in that situation very often.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I have gotten up and walked out of things because I'm like, my energy is too precious. So
Yes.
I have done that.
Good.
And I really try not to be, I am very aware of, because I also do speaking engagements. And so I really try
Mm-hmm.
to be super
Yeah.
respectful of it.
Yeah.
But also sometimes it's like, depending on where it
Yeah.
is, or
Yeah.
things like that, it's like, I don't have time to waste, and I don't want to sit
Uh-huh.
for 90 minutes
Right.
getting angry in my head because I'm stuck here,
Well,
even in
that's the
like,
nuance is
yes,
that it
yes.
depends. It
Mm-hmm.
depends. Like there's no one size fits all. In fact, that's so funny, Alicia, because one of the seminars that I went to, it was very poor attendance. I was like one of three people in the audience. It was a tiny little room. Um, and then someone came in and they ended up leaving. And I thought to myself, oh, that's so rude. And then another seminar I was in, I was actually like, oh, I'm going to do that rude thing right now because I refuse to sit and like listen for 75 minutes to this man who's just going on. Like, I can tell there's just no like passion, there's no like creativity here. It just sounds very robotic. So, yeah, there's a time and a place for all of the above.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, and giving yourself permission to this is not for me, and be respectful, obviously, but yeah, just that. No, I have too many other things in life that just piss me off and set me off.
Well, no,
If I have
it's a way of
agency.
saying it's saying like, "Hey, I'm sorry, you matter, but so do I."
Hmm.
And I'm just at a point where I am going to have to leave
Yes,
to do right by myself because I can't sit through this. I can't
yes.
do that to myself right now.
I had a friend, this is kind of similar. She's about 10 years younger than me. She's in her mid 30s and I'm in my mid 40s. And we were doing a workout on her birthday. And this is in a group class. And the exercise, it was just dumb. I was like, that doesn't make, and I'm like, I have a fitness background. So I can see
Mhm.
that there are two exercises that are put together, but you had to use like light weights for what should have been a heavy weight exercise. It just was, it didn't
Mm,
make any sense. I'm like, no,
mm,
I refuse to do that. And she's like, that's the difference, I think, between your age group and my age group is I'm still willing to try
mm,
things and you have
mm,
already tried it and realized
mm,
that's stupid. I'm not wasting my time. I'm going to do what is going
mhm,
to like get me the results that I want versus trying something I already know just to kind of make, the instructor feel better, or just to do what everybody else is doing. I'm like, I love that because yes, after 40, it's like, I'm not
maybe.
wasting
I
my
mean,
time.
I would hope that's true, but, like, then again, like, my daughter, she would be the one who's like, no, I'm not gonna do this," and she's
Yes, but
22.
don't you
So
think that's because of us? I have
yeah,
one
yeah, yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
She won't let me take credit for it. She's like, I came out this way. I'm like, girl, mm-mm, no, I have showed you that like we are not. But I think that that kind of the generation up of upcoming women, I feel
Mm.
like the information that they have been given is such a gift because they
Mhm.
did not
Yeah.
they did not get the 80s and the 90s and before that of to go along to get along and just do the thing and
Mm. Mhm.
smile, all that bullshit. They, I feel
Yeah.
like, are being taught like use your voice, it's
Yeah.
powerful, like
Right.
go a different way. Nothing has to, I mean, my daughter yesterday, my youngest, who's 8, we were watching
Mhm.
Modern Family and one of the ladies was pregnant and she's like, I don't want to be pregnant. And I was like, you don't have to be, like, this
Yeah.
is not, you don't, whatever, you don't have to do anything. Where,
Mhm.
I feel like we were kind of told, here, this is the path that you follow.
Mhm.
And, you know, here we are.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. And you know what? Just to go back to the seminars, so there was one in particular. So I'm your friend is in her mid 30s. You're in your mid 40s. I'm in my mid 50s, and
Okay.
this is where I'm at. One of the seminars, I felt I felt very angry because I felt deceived about what it was really on versus what it was advertised, and I was so annoyed because I mean, honestly, I wasn't learning a single thing. It was like sharing what they're doing in their own stuff, but it wasn't anything you could apply to yourself as a
Oh,
clinician. And all of them are supposed to be continuing education. So they're supposed to be all applicable to mental health clinicians. And so I actually raised my hand and I'm really like proud of this. I raised my hand. I said, I'm sorry. I'm just failing to see the application for clinicians here. And the guy was like, oh, it's coming. And then he finally, told me, "Oh, see, this is it," when he said, like, this one thing, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's not enough." Like, that but I'm really I made it clear. I said, "I'm just failing to see the objective."
yeah.
And that felt really good. I didn't get up and storm out. I didn't disparage him. I just said what was true, and someone else afterward thanked me for saying that.
Oh, yeah. Cause I'm sure everybody is sitting in there like, how are you have your time, and how are you going to apply this in your practice? And if they're not getting to it, it's like, well, that was a waste of 75 minutes of my life.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then shortcomings for you don't have the knowledge to then take back and use. So not only are you wasting your time, it's like, oh, I could have
Yeah.
been getting this knowledge and
Yeah.
not getting it.
Sorry, I'm 55 and I don't have time to waste. And
Yes.
if you guys are going to waste it, you should be honest about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Mhm.
definitely think my friend, my no murder friend, when there's no murders when we're on our walks, there was this woman, she had to be between 55 and 65. She was out biking. And you know how the trees grow and there's like the little parts on the bottom that you have to pull off, otherwise like the
Mm.
trees it grows tree from the bottom of
Mhm.
where it's
Mhm.
not supposed to. She's riding her bike, stopping at every house, peeling them off. And I was like, my friend and I were both the same age in our 40s. And she's like, "Do we do that too?" I'm like, "No, I think that's 10 years from now. I don't think I don't think we're at
Ah!
I don't think we've unlocked that level yet." But we told her, we're like, "Thank you so much. We just walk around and get so pissed that these people are not taking care of their trees every day." Meanwhile, she's
Oh,
like, "I'm done." She's like, "I ride my bike through here and it drives me nuts. I'm just doing it." And I
oh,
was like, "Hell yeah." Like that is the next level
wow.
we get to unlock is other people's lawn
Wow.
care. It
I
made me
love
so
that.
happy. Like it made me, I was like, "Oh, I cannot wait." But yeah, friends, we are not at that level yet. She has earned that. Like we still have, we got a path to follow. So it's really fun, like kind of looking at it
Wow.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
we can do anything.
Wow. Empowered women. It is
Right?
so cool. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she probably was pissed every time she's riding her bike. She's probably a great
Mhm.
gardener, and these people are just not taking care of it. So she's like, "I'm done being angry riding my bike through this neighborhood. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna clip these off." And there she went and did it. She was like, I loved it. It was so cool.
I would love to hear like what her journey was to get to that
Right?
place, you know? Like what inspired her to kind of just go to that level.
Yes,
Yeah.
we actually, I told my friend when I saw this woman, I was like, "We're gonna have to go the direction she's in now because I need to see more." Because I would be the one that would be like, "Hey, can you tell me more about yourself? Like,
Yeah.
how did
Oh
you
yeah, you
arrive
should
here?"
have her on your
I'm not, right?
podcast.
There are some women that I see walking around, and
Mm.
I'm like, "Oh, you look like you have a really like actually walking through my neighborhood," and
Mm.
I don't want to be too weird and be like, "Hey," but also I
You
want to be
seem really
like,
cool.
right?
Will you be a
I
guest on my podcast?
You have a really great energy. Yeah, and this woman just had a great, like, determined
Mm.
energy. Like, this doesn't look good,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna fix it so that I can enjoy the space
Mm.
as I'm going through it. It was
Right.
like
Yeah.
wonderful. Hmm.
Yeah, I definitely love the energy word these days. You can feel people's energy.
Oh,
You
a
feel it
hundred
and it
percent.
affects you so much just being in their presence for better or for worse.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. That is I have been known just to just exit because it's like, oh, I feel it deep, and or otherwise I'm just like, oh, there's some people where I just can't. I'm like, I don't know why. I have no actual concrete reason. All I know is I do not feel good when I'm in the space of,
Mm.
and I just will go. Or even
Yeah.
um, my um, my dad is in the in a hospital, and that space that I was in, I legitimately was like, I have to get out of here. It felt very suffocating. And I was like, I had
Yeah.
to go. So,
The
yeah, I
hospital
think paying
space.
attention. And
Mhm.
not all, I've been to many and it's fine.
Mm.
But this
Mm.
particular, it was just like, I felt like
Mm.
almost, when you get that tightness in your throat. So
Wow.
I was so glad that I honored what I was feeling and was like, all right, I got to bounce because this is not good for me.
I'm curious what the tightness in your throat wanted to say, or did it want to scream? Did it want to cry?
That's a really interesting question.
Mhm.
Probably both.
Mm. Mm.
um, I think, kind of reflecting back, I was holding space for people and trying to
Mm.
probably not talk, probably just like, this
Mm.
is not space that I want to be. It's so funny. I get on here and give me a microphone and I'll say anything, but you put me
Mhm.
with actual people one on one, not one on one,
Mm.
in a group. And
Mm.
I would rather listen to all of them.
Mm.
So I think, yeah, it was just like angst, energy in my throat of this is not right. And I cannot be freely me. Like
Mm.
I just wanted to get home to my husband and be able to talk. Hmm.
So it felt like an unsafe place for you to express what you were truly feeling. And were you enabling in a way?
No, No, I
No?
mean, I was just
Okay.
there holding space. It was,
Okay.
people I cared about that I was with,
Mm,
but it was,
mm.
no sleep, short duration of time, that it
Yeah.
was just a very intense situation.
Mm,
So, yeah, my body, that is one thing that I have become very in tune to after years of
mhm,
not listening to the physical cues. Now it's
mm,
like, oh,
mhm.
now I'm very in tune with, yeah, this does
Yeah.
not feel good.
Yeah, it
Hmm.
sounded like your body knew this isn't a place where I can't express myself
Yeah.
freely,
And
and
I
I
could,
cannot
I
be
just
here.
didn't want to. It was, there was friction between what I wanted in
Yes.
what I've set up my life to be and where I
Mhm,
was. And I was like, this is not, I
mm.
can't. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's
Hmm.
exactly right. And that's it. So that's the self-attunement. That is the listening to our bodies. So we could dance, we can sing, we can exercise, we can hike, we can self-nurture with food, with making bread. But if we're ignoring that kind of thing, it's all for naught because we need to pay attention to our bodies at all times, not just
Yeah.
when it feels convenient.
Hmm. Yeah. And that, I mean, kind of same thing with the anger. It's like,
Mhm.
that took me a long, many, many failed attempts of, oh no, this will be fine, and overriding that,
Mm,
and then realizing, oh no. So when I look back, it's
mhm,
never been fine if I've override
mm,
that feeling or whisper or whatever it could be, the
mhm.
knowing. And now it's okay. I can't explain this to everybody because it doesn't make sense, especially if people are not
Mhm.
aware of their own, kind of inner knowing and inner feelings and things. It's like, but that is what I use as my guide for the most part. Sometimes I, still have to be places or conversations, whatever, out of, you know, duty or whatever you call it. But
Yeah.
for the most part, it's like, no, this doesn't feel good. I need to follow what I know.
Yes, I agree. So when we listen to our bodies, it helps our brain go, wait, 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 wait. I was moving forward, and all of a sudden this is saying, oh, this isn't so great after all. Maybe I
Mm,
need to leave, right?
yeah.
But our brain won't pick it up in the moment. Our body
Mm,
will. I
yeah.
really believe that our bodies are grounded in truth. And even the most wicked person in the world, their body is always grounded in truth. But our brain has a way of like changing the narrative and
Mm,
disassociating and being in denial and blocking it. And this is where we can like choose what we're going to believe. And when we start to integrate our brain with the body, we bring alignment where everything's in alignment with truth. And that makes us healthy mentally, physically, in every way.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When I when I look back, it has been my body and my
Mhm.
gut. I know people
Mhm.
feel it in different places, but yeah, when my body started leading the charge and my brain was kind of secondary for a lot of it, things get things get easier. Even down to something, I mean, lately one of my main things has been reducing stress. There
Mhm.
is a delightful dog that is currently passing gas underneath my desk. Yeah. And my
Oh,
face just remains normal, even though just wretched smells coming up. But I knew that, like, getting another dog was not a good idea. But I let my brain override it because we have a whole slew of kids here.
no.
And I let
Yeah.
my brain override it, even though I was
Uh,
like, "Ugh," I could feel it, And
wow.
so that's just one. And he's just
Yeah.
I love him. And also, it's
Yeah.
just an added layer of, this was probably something, and you
Mm.
have those choices all day long with certain things where it's like, oh, are you
Mm.
checking in with how it actually feels, or are you letting your brain,
Mm.
override?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting because in Western culture, we have put so much emphasis on the brain. Like we have worshiped the brain and we have completely dismissed emotions and the body. And now that's changing. There's a huge movement to change that, I should say. Not everyone is changing that, but Yeah, we've had all these like men, starting with like Socrates and Plato, which they had wisdom to share. They did, but they were also a bunch of creeps. Like honestly, they were a bunch of pedophiles too. But they were, look up the history, but they were all about the brain. They really saw like the brain as being kind of the apex of human evolution, if you will. And I'm like, yeah, well, the brain has some good stuff to offer, but really what I've been learning is body um the brain is designed to help the body, not vice versa. The body's not here to support the brain. And that's what I've always thought, but that's not true. The brain is here to support the body. And the body, I just learned this. I read this fantastic book about consciousness from Michael Pollan. And I learned that the body holds, like we say, body memory, like that's real. The body has neurons that store memory, just like the brain. The body, has legitimate memories that the brain doesn't have. The body holds the consciousness. That's why I say the body is in alignment with the truth. Our brain
Mm-hmm.
can create its own reality that is not true consciousness. So, yeah, we have idolized the brain and people still do. And they've actually there's people out there who are born without like missing part of their brain and they function just fine.
That's
It's
so interesting.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
we act like a traumatic brain injury. I mean, I'm not saying that can't, inhibit someone, but it's amazing what their brain can do to compensate and what their body can do to compensate. We just don't understand how powerful the whole system really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, I feel the body has been, I mean, with just what I have done in life and what I do professionally, it's it's just so interesting. And yeah, when you say how people with the brain, I remember I was on a board at a school and the school was falling apart. It was a Catholic
Mm,
school and I didn't
mm,
understand how the hierarchy of
mm.
that all lined up. Anyway, new principal comes in, school falls apart. I am trying to save this school. And I got the first email from this principal and I knew something was off, like wrong. Like I'm like, this is bad. And other people were chirping and
Mm,
saying all these things. And
mm.
I said something about I have like a feeling or I just know like I feel and they were like, well, you don't have any evidence to like there's nothing that has happened. And I'm like, oh no, I have so this is like pattern recognition from other
Yep.
people that I have read these I have seen similar things to know as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, and other people were saying, like, you can't just go on a feeling. Well, guess what? I was right. My feeling was right.
Yeah. Yeah.
like,
Yep.
but it's like, oh, you are not in touch with the feeling. You override those things. And I'm like, ugh, and you can't explain it to
Mhm.
somebody in that sort of setting of like, but I remember that. And I was like, well, you're about to be proved wrong because
Yeah.
I know that this is I just knew
Yeah.
it, but because there was no concrete
Mhm.
evidence of it, that's another tally on the things that used to cause me anger that I have released.
It's so annoying when people say like, "Oh, that's just your feeling." Like you can't prove that. And you're like, "Give me time and I will."
right?
Like
Yes.
I
Oh,
know this in a way that you cannot dissuade me
yes.
otherwise, right?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. It's very I will it'll be interesting to see, how everything unfolds and how people maybe start respecting and honoring that sort
Mhm.
of got the feeling in the body, over the mind, or at least in tandem in a way that is more like, oh, let's teach you to be aware of these things and let's teach you to honor and respect those kind of, whispers and feelings that you have because they keep you safe. They keep you,
Yeah.
there's so many advantages to tuning in to that.
There are, but people are scared to death of their feelings.
Mm,
And people also have so much shame that they don't trust their bodies, they don't trust their
yeah.
feelings. But it's interesting, I think just to talk about the first part where people are scared of their feelings, I think it's because they have hatred. in their body, usually of a parent that they have not ever become honest about or allowed themselves to feel or to recognize. And so they're scared of all their feelings. And when we dissociate from feelings of hatred, which I think every human has at their parent, I really believe that. Like my daughter had hatred of me. We've addressed it and she was able to release it. But we all betray our kids, even the best
Mm-hmm.
parent does. And so those kids are going to feel some hatred. But the kids who refuse to feel it, who refuse to acknowledge it, who refuse to address it, that's going to keep them from feeling all their other feelings too. And they're the people who are going to say, well, Alecia, that's just a feeling, right? Because that's become their own disposition towards themselves. And they're going to put that onto you. You can't trust a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of people like that.
yeah, those are, I feel like most of the people are, at least the ones where I, talk to people with who I work with. And that's where I'm like, do you have a therapist? Because this is
Mm-hmm.
out of my wheelhouse. And yet
Mm-hmm.
it's one of the foundational things that, and you have to do all of the other things. I feel like the foundation of trust in
Mm-hmm.
your, I mean, how do you do anything in life if you don't
Mm-hmm.
trust the things you think, or the anything,
Yes.
down to the
Yeah.
smallest decisions? If you don't have that self-trust and you don't have the way to
Mm-hmm.
kind of even recognize what those things are, then it just makes things really difficult, because you're just kind of absorbing everybody else's ideas and just going along with it. And then fuck, you're 90 years old, and have you even lived your life? And like, I don't know, that's, I get a little hot about those things, but I'm just like,
No,
let's
that's
get a
right.
community of supporters
Mm-hmm.
together, and let's get
Yeah.
your practitioners that can help
Mm-hmm.
you unpack that, which is hard to unpack this stuff. Like,
Well,
it's
yeah,
so,
but
that
but
is not
we're
even it's way hard.
But we're told, I mean, even within the therapeutic community, there are therapists who are like, oh, that's just a feeling. Let's think of it this way. Let's reframe it. Now, if reframing has its place, but we can't dismiss the feeling. And yet there's so many therapists who do that, who don't know what to do with emotions, who don't have a healthy, posture towards what emotions are designed to do, which is to move us
Yeah.
forward. And they think of, so yeah, there's that. Um, there's for example, like, when you were saying you would have these kind of conversations in your head, and I said, well, that meant that you don't have closure. That's a good sign. But there's so many therapists who would say, oh, well, let's get rid of that. Like, have you thought about, what you should do? Actually, one of my good friends just told me this. Her new therapist, when she starts to ruminate and get angry, you know what the therapist advised her? Carry a really sour candy with you everywhere. And then when you start to do that, just pop that really sour candy into your mouth. And then it will help you just focus on the sour taste in your mouth. And I'm like, that is so gaslighting, because this in your brain is telling you you have something to do to bring closure. And what your therapist is telling you is, just distract and feel this feeling in your mouth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes it's like, like some of the things I have worked with people on. Okay, you have these thoughts, you're creating a lot of it. We can do, like, call it the toddler and target. Like, let's redirect you a little bit, But
Mm-hmm.
for deep shit, no.
Well, I think everything in our brain and body is telling us something.
Yes.
And if we dismiss that and just think distraction is like the
Yes.
solution, that is
Yeah.
so yeah, that's the culture and that's therapy. So of course the doctor's going to say, "Well, let me give you this medication so you don't have the rumination." And the rumination is telling you you need to bring something to completion.
Yeah. It's all information. It's all, I mean, it is. And it's like, don't be afraid of it. It can be scary if it's something that you've never actually,
Mhm.
spent time with, and, don't, but it is. It's just, it's information on, what's happening in your world, and how I'm just such a big fan of collecting. I'm like a gatherer of healers, and how can they, like, I love my Reiki person and my acupuncturist. It's like, how can we move and work with
Mhm.
who you are and bring you to a space
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
feeling good, and
Mm.
whatever that looks like for
Mhm.
you.
Yeah.
Like there's just, yeah,
Yeah.
I think, as much as I do love the feeling of anger that, it's fiery in me. I can feel, as I talk about it, I'm like, ooh, it feels like warm and fuzzy. But if it's not that kind, that is the movable kind, then it's like, how can you spend some
Mm.
time with that and gather, people like you in your world that you
Mhm.
can move through that and come to that space of
Mhm.
completion. And one of the things, as we're, wrapping this up,
Yeah.
I have completed that loop. I have completed the loop. And sometimes that loop reopens and it can be
Mm.
shocking. And I think that's where I was
Mm.
at. I was like, wait a second. Like, I've
Mm.
already done this.
Mm.
Like, this was completed. And it was
Yeah.
like, oh, I just need to, it's not that I have to do it again. It's just, it's just, I'm there. I'm almost there. And, um, that was an interesting space of, well, I already did this work. But I feel like it's
Yeah.
always a work because we're always like up leveling and doing all these things
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Well, it seems like it showed you didn't release the bitterness piece. That was like the last thing to need to happen.
I mean, I did. And then it sort of just
Okay.
resurfaced
It
and
resurfaced.
yeah,
I see. And
it
that can
resurfaced.
happen. It
Yeah.
resurfaces and then we just release it again.
Yes. But I
Exactly.
wasn't
Yeah.
prepared
Mhm.
for it because it had been like 10, a long time. So I was shocked, like,
Okay.
wait a second.
Yeah.
And then it came back with like a full
Whoa.
for fury.
Yeah.
And, but I was like, oh, but that's like, I wasn't afraid to look at it. I wasn't afraid
Yeah.
to be with it. It was, okay, this is
Mm.
information. And how can
Yes.
and I talked about, like I said, I talked about with my friend, I talked about with Kira. It was like,
Mm.
let me continue to move this and not talk about it
Mhm.
in a
Mhm.
ruminating,
Mhm.
powerless way, kind of just stating like, this is the state I am in. And what do I do about it? How do I
Right.
be with it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I love that. And I think that is true for all of us that things will trigger us at different points when we even had that closure and might kind of reopen those wounds and to just say, you know what, this matters. I matter. What do I need right now?
Yeah.
And then doing it. And that's what you did. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that example. And yeah, let's go ahead and wrap up. But Alecia, thank you so much for being on my podcast. And the first time, the wisdom of anger, that, talk we had was so, yeah, that was so profound. And I love that so much. And just thank you for your energy and your wisdom.
Yeah. Thank you. I really appreciate you having me on, and I love chatting with you. So, and I love the fiery friction of anger talking about it. So, thank you.
Yeah. And tell podcast listeners where to find you and your podcast,
Yeah.
by the way.
So
Mhm.
my podcast is called Spirit of a Badass. And then you can find me on Instagram. I've got the Spirit of a Badass podcast handle. And then I also have my handle, which is Alecia Jacobson on Instagram. I'm on Facebook, but I don't really do anything on there. So yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay.
I wasn't sure. I didn't want to interrupt you the first time.